Hello, fellow humans! Spiders and arthropods are not done yet if you're in the northern hemisphere and getting ready for snow or already have snow. In this video, I'll first explain the habitat, where in the snow these arthropods are, how they survive, and give a few examples of these critters. Hello, editor here. Before you get too far, yes, this is not done by motion cap, unlike the previous videos, and yes, when the animator loses his mind. And here's the habitat where the arthropods tend to live. It is the subnivean zone. And I say tend to because, as a general rule in biology, there are exceptions. For example, there can be insects that can be found on top of the ice in some areas. But the subnivean zone here is really below the snow. Stuff like leaves, logs, and stones can actually help and prop the snow above up. On top of that, the earth radiates some of the heat. I mean, it's not much, but it's enough to be warmer than top of the snow on most days. And not only that, but the snow that might be in this area melts. Right? No, it skips the liquid stage and turns into a gas stage, which turns back into the ice above, effectively creating an ice ceiling. Blizzards and high winds really don't affect here as much as above the snow. It's insulated that way. There is another advantage of being hidden from predators above, like birds. And another advantage of this is very humid. Arthropods potentially can get quickly dehydrated. They do have a small volume and comparatively large surface area after all. This picture from Maine State's Department of Inland Fisheries and Wildlife is not misleading. Small mammals can also take advantage of this area and have burrows. When the snow melts, you can actually find these tunnels. How do they function at this time of the year? Firstly, the ones that do not run around going, oh, this is a nice time of the year, they tend to diapause. Diapause is kind of a hardcore hibernation where their biology slows down or just can stop. For example, their eggs could stop developing until winter's over. Those species really still have the same problem as active arthropods, and that's freezing. When ice freezes, it tends to crystallize, and those crystals can actually damage blood cells. Or just cells in general. That's why frostbite's so dangerous, and when someone has severe frostbite, their skin looks black. But one trick is turning their hemolymph into antifreeze. They do this with proteins called cryoprotectants. Another little trick they have is a mix between chemistry and physics. They can do a mix between dehydrating their hemolymph and or their cells. When you add stuff to the water, it can actually lower its melting point. This is why salt works on melting ice until, it's cold enough to hurt to breathe. And yes, these critters also shelter. If you dig into the earth, you're going into a well-insulated habitat. It stays cool in the summer and warm in the winter. Multiple species of spiders are active in the winter. For example, the authors of this paper identified 54 species. However, I want to talk about one they actually did not mention in that paper, the Centromus sylvaticus. They're found all over the northern hemisphere. They're kind of like the wasp that called the fairy flies in that manner. They could be all around you without you noticing them. I mean, I say could, because just because they're not necessarily found anywhere, they might not be caught in that area. Ask anyone who fishes this. And this map in gbif.org shows where they have been found. In my spider survey, and just so you know, the spider surveys are to find out what species live in the area, but it really doesn't involve total population estimates. There are better ways for that. The sylvaticus I caught were found in all the microhabitats. So if we're talking swamp, beach, dry field, floodplains, we do not know much about them. Sylvaticus are not active adults in the summer, and it can be hard to study them because of their minute. They're tiny, and over winter they're active underneath the snow in the subnivean zone. When they are juveniles, we still don't know much about them. Again, this is partially due to their size, but spiders, again, biology 101, there's always exceptions. Spiders are generally not identifiable to the species level until they're adults. The male and female genitalia needs to be hardened, and that happens at the last molt. Yes, spiderologists look at genitalia frequently. This can make it impossible to know where to find them when they are not adults over not winter. So, what do we know? They're linniphids. The common name of the family is either sheet weavers or money spiders. For a quick review of the spider families, Jumping spiders are one family, and cellar spiders or day-long-legs are another family. Winter active spiders tend to be caught with pitfall traps, so they walk and fall into a trap. This means that they're in the subnivean zone. This kind of makes sense since they are sheltered from the wind, and with the relative heat below, it keeps them warm. I also want to quickly show to leaf litter. Leaf litter offers protection, especially if there's not much snow. I can't find much information what Sylvaticus eats, but I know there are active springtails in winter, so that's a potential prey item. For a quick introduction to springtails, this is a model of a generic Symphyllina. They're crazy cute. And even though they look like them, they're actually not insects. Just like insects, they're hexapods. So they're close, related. They have 3 body segments, 6 legs, and all that. Hello, editor here again. I just want to point out that the Symphyllina, that is just one order, which is like the major taxonomical, like how humans organize animals above family. There's 4 of them, and I just chose that one because I think they're the cutest, to be blunt. But there's also one not from that order, from a different one that lives in Antarctica, and according to this website, can like hit 10 years old. I just had to share that. However, they do not have external mouth parts. They're considered soft-bodied. None of them have wings, or any of the development have wings, and they also molt throughout their lives. Their eyes more closely resemble their crustacean relatives. Members of Hexapoda, springtails and insects, are members of Pancrustia. So calling shrimp water bugs is a little bit more accurate than you would first think. The springtails are chill creatures, eating dead plant matter and whatnot. They're not, generally speaking, they're not predator, and they don't bite. The reason why they're called springtails is because of their furca. Hello, editor here. I didn't like the description of the furca and the springy tail, so I'm going to speak up. We're not 100% sure on the furca, how it works. There could be a bunch of different ways. I found a very good paper written 2022 in the description. If you're that interested, it's for the most part not that, for when it comes to these papers, it's not the hardest read, but there's a little bit of not knowing if the springtail is hydraulic, if it's muscle, if it's controlled. We're still not 100% sure. It's probably a combination, probably varies depending upon the species, but yeah, I just don't feel confident saying this is what it is when the experts are not 100% sure what it is. So it basically has a spring tail. I'm not sure how well it works underneath the snow, but I guess that'd be for the spider's benefit. Just one caveat, again, with biology, there's always exceptions, so not all springtails have the furca. Not all winter active spiders eat springtails. The larger ones probably go after bigger prey. I just showcased Sylvaticus mostly because I want to. It's one of my favorite spiders. There are a surprising amount of arthropods active over winter. Along spiders and springtails, there are insects like beetles and ants. You also have mites, centipedes, millipedes. Do not worry too much about centipedes. These are not the giant desert ones. They are tiny. When you see them in the summer, you might think that they're like a tiny little worm. So, for example, the Geophilomorpha, like the one on the screen, is crazy small and wants nothing to do with you. If you walk barefoot in the snow, you do not need to worry about getting stung or bit necessarily. Just worry about frostbite or spiky plant bits in the snow.
And now for something completely different.
Any ideas?
Think, think, think.
Wait, do that again.
Do what?
That!
Oh,
We can use our bubbles.
to jump across! Well, isn't that handy?
Oh yeah, clearly this ending was not really well thought up of. Our apologies. We're not going to do this hand animation for like the whole video again. That was a fun experiment. The animator learned quite a bit. But yeah, thank you for watching. Every single time I see a view, like the view counter go up, it gives me happy chemicals, so I really appreciate you. And I feel like there's something I should add right now, and I just can't brain it right now. So thank you for watching.